Good afternoon. You're tuning in to the Board of County Commissioners. This is a public hearing. The topic of today is operations of Black Lake Special District. I'm Carolina Mejia, Chair of the Board. I'm joined by Vice Chair Ty Menser, as well as Commissioner Gary Edwards, County Manager Ramiro Chavez, Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, and other staff members. This is a virtual meeting today. And for public attendance, you may follow along on Thurston County YouTube channel if you do not wish to testify, or join by calling 360-252-9020, PIN number 1234. Those wishing to testify have joined by Zoom, by phone, emailed in comment, or mailed in comment. If you wish to testify, please visit the Thurston County homepage online and select announcements of public hearings on the left-hand side. The information to join this public hearing remotely has been posted there, or join by calling 360-252-9020, PIN number 1234. If you do not wish to testify but would like to listen and follow along, please watch the live stream through the Thurston County YouTube channel to help us manage attendance. Ramiro Chavez, County Manager, Elizabeth Petrick, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney, and Amy Davis, Clerk of the Board, will provide information on this topic today. Assuming those on Zoom wish to testify, the County Manager will read your name out loud. You have 3 minutes to testify. Time may not be given to another person. When you're called on, please state your name and address for the record. So with that, this public hearing is now open. Ramiro, Elizabeth, and Amy will now present background information of this matter, posting requirements, written comments submitted, and any additional information requested by the board. Ramiro, I'll hand this off to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me begin by stating the RCW 85.38220, that's the revised Code of Washington, allows for the suspension of operations, procedure, and reactivation. And it states as follows: any special district may have its operations suspended as provided in this section. The process of suspending the special district's operations may be initiated by, number one, the adoption of a resolution proposing such action by the governing body of the special use district. Number two, the filing of a petition proposing such action with the county legislative authority of the county in which all of the largest portions of this special district is located, which petition is signed by voters of the special district who own at least 10% of the acreage of the special district, or is signed by 10 or more voters of the special district. And number three is the adoption of a resolution proposing such action by the county legislative authority of the county in which all of the largest portions of the special district is located. On August 31st, 2021, the county received a petition from Mr. Esther Cronenberg. She is listed as the co-chair of the Citizens for the Clean Black Lake, citing item number 2 of the RCW 85.38220, in which requesting for a public hearing for the Board of County Commissioners to consider suspension of the operations of the Black Lake Special Use District. The suspension of a special use district is done by holding a public hearing. After the public hearing, the Board of the County Commissioners may adopt a resolution suspending the operations for a special district if it finds such suspension to be in the public interest, and shall provide a copy of the resolution to the county treasurer. In addition, this statute states that no special district may be suspended unless the legislative authority of the county accepts the responsibility for operations and maintenance of the improvements during the suspension period. At this point, I would like to give Amy Davis, the clerk of the board, the floor to give you a perspective of the postings of this public hearing, as well as an overview of the comments that we have received.
Hi, Amy Davis, Clerk of the Board of County Commissioners. I'll touch base first on the postings of this public hearing. The legal notice was published in the Olympian on February 15th, February 22nd, and March 1st. Physical copies of the legal notice were posted at the McLean Fire Station, the 2 parking lots at Kennedale Park, Black Lake Grocery, and the office at Columbus Park, and at the boat launch for a total of 6 postings and 5 locations. The public hearing information with supporting documents has been posted to our website since February 9th. The public comment period ended yesterday, March 7th at 12:00 p.m. At that point, we had received a total of 44 comments. 24 were in favor of the petition to dissolve, 19 were in opposition of the petition, and 1 didn't explicitly state one way or the other and is marked as unsure. I'd also like to include comments received up until about 1:00 p.m. today. Of those, 5 were in favor of the petition, 15 were against the petition, and 1 is marked as unsure. In total, the comments received against the petition to dissolve outweigh those received in favor of the petition at 34 and 29 respectively. And that is all I have. Elizabeth is here and will provide further information.
Before Elizabeth starts, Commissioners, you have a full copy of the comments we have received on your packet. So I just want to make that aware to the citizens who have provided written testimony. The Board of County Commissioners have a full copy of those comments.
Point of order, Your Honor. I have put in a request for recusal, and
Right now is not the time.
that has to be done.
We have not started the public hearing, sir. Can you please mute yourself? I will call your name when the time is coming.
You're supposed to be doing this before the public hearing. This is something that's supposed to be considered before the public hearing.
Sir, please.
Fairness doctrine problem, and that has to be.
Thank you. So Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners. Elizabeth Petrich, Deputy Prosecuting Attorney, here as your counsel on this public hearing. There's just a couple of clarifications I wanted to make for the Commissioners as well as the public attending this hearing. First off, this is a legislative action by the Board of County Commissioners. So the concern that Mr. Durker is raising addresses quasi-judicial matters. This is not a quasi-judicial matter before you. So the concerns Mr. Durker is raising do not apply to this particular hearing. The second clarification I wanted to point out is there's been an interchange of language between the public hearing is about dissolution of the district or suspension of the district. And the reason those 2 terms are being used is because the actual petition, which was filed under the statute that the county manager read you, the people that filed the petition said we are moving under this statute. However, the request that they were seeking was dissolution of the district. However, 8538-220 does not allow the Board of County Commissioners any authority to dissolve the district. That statute does allow the county commissioners to consider public comment on suspension of the district if it is in the public interest. So the public comments that the public should be giving to the board today should relate to the suspension of operations of the district. Any comments dealing with the dissolution of the district are irrelevant and should not be considered by the board because the board does not have authority today to take any action today or later to dissolve the district. I'm happy to answer any questions from the commissioners.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Menser?
Yes, Elizabeth, are you able to describe a little more precisely the difference between dissolving? I think I understand, and probably the public understands. What would suspension mean and how would that be different? Would it mean that it would last for a given period of time? We'd work with them to fix problems, or how would it differ from a dissolution?
A dissolution would dissolve the district. There would be no separate entity managing the district. A suspension of operations does not dissolve the district. It does not eliminate this separate governmental entity. The special use district is a standalone governmental entity at this point. So a suspension is just going into that entity and saying at this time, particular operations are suspended because of the public interest. But what's a little unclear in this case is no one has proposed any suspension of any particular operation. That's because the citizens were operating under a misunderstanding that they could ask you to dissolve the district. But the difference is the entity would still be standing in a suspension. But if you dissolve the district, the separate governmental entity, the district would be dissolved and no longer.
But in a suspension, would the commissioners or the county then be collecting the same fees and managing them or paying the bond and all that? Or would all of that halt? Or how would the financial management then?
You would not have to assume the financial management of the district. You would just simply allow the district to continue doing its business, but suspending certain operational actions of the district.
Oh, we could pick and choose what we would just allow them to do versus.
Only if you think it's in the public interest.
Okay, so it's not a blanket general suspension. It can be like issue by issue in a sense.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Menser, for that, because I was not under the impression that you could pick and choose different activities. And I appreciate your questions regarding the differences between the dissolution and the suspension. And so, Elizabeth, I wanted you to possibly go a little bit further and expand on, why we cannot, why it's not under our purview to dissolve a special utility district.
It's not under your authority to dissolve a special use district if they have bonds out. If this district did not have any bonds, you would have some authority to dissolve. But the big issue in this particular case is that previously you authorized the district to secure bonds, and they have done that, and they're paying for those bonds through assessments that were also approved by the county commissioner. So that's another practical reason why the statute does not authorize you to dissolve this particular special use district.
Nan, Noreen, N-O-R-E-N.
The hearing today is about the suspension. And I had a question, but I kind of slipped away. Okay, with that, are there any further questions from the commissioners at this point?
No questions, ma'am.
Okay. So with that, we'll go ahead and open up to public testimony. And there are some guidelines. So the Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines are as follows. Please introduce yourself, including the address you reside and the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. The board does not respond to public comments on a need basis. The county manager will follow up on specific items. Speakers are limited to a total of 3 minutes to address the board, and this is because of the number of people wishing to make public comment today. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. The board reserves the right to restrict a person's opportunity to address the meeting for good cause. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outburst of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records, subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256. And with that, I will go ahead and open for public comment. County Manager, will you please go through the attendees and see who wishes to make public comment?
Thank you.
I've had a question for a while.
Excuse me, sir.
I don't know how to sign up for public comment.
Sir,
process is not clear.
Sir, I will.
I'm asking. I've had my hand up for a while. How do I sign up as a scientist?
Let me clarify, sir. Let me clarify that you do not need to raise your hand. I will call you. I will call your name based on the order that I have on my Zoom screen, and I have your name in here, so I will call you when the time comes, sir. And again, please do not. You do not need to raise your hand. I will call your name based on the order that I have on my screen. Thank you.
All right.
So it just happens, the first on the list that I have is Mr. Mark Smith. Go ahead, sir. Unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I am Mark Smith, co-owner of Lakeside Mobile Home Park for over 33 years. A lot of familiarity with the lakefront and with our tenants. We have 76 tenants, and our basic opposition and our tenants' opposition is that there are 76 of us, and any one of my tenants is paying about the same as a person who has 50 feet of lakefront. So they get the same vote for $80, and we only get one vote for $1,500. And there's 76 of us. Most of them enjoy the lake by fishing or by just hanging out at the lakefront. They aren't boaters. And the big complaint we're getting is that this killed the fish. But, going back, people make mistakes, things don't work. We understand all of that. The big issue is, in a democracy, how do 76 families get one vote against one family with one vote? And that's how this was created. And the whole process was absolutely not representative of a democracy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, I have Ms. JJL, Mr.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize I'd signed up. Thank you. That was very powerful, what Mark just said. And my main concern is with the poisoning, or the toxicity of the lake itself. And I did a lot of research last year when they were applying some of those chemicals, and looked pretty deeply into the toxicity and long-term EPA kind of approach to these. And, it was very, very concerning. So I'm here mostly to say that it's interesting that it's interesting to hear the difference between the dissolution and the suspension, which is something I didn't know either, because I'm hoping that at the very least that the county commissioners will decide to take actions to stop the poisoning of this lake, and that there's other ways to treat invasive, or not even invasive, but species that I guess boaters don't like, or that get caught in their engines. And that is, that there's more mechanical, physical ways to do that, and that you're not poisoning aquifers or poisoning the fish, as Mark was just talking about. So I'm hoping at the very least that they'll take this up. But I really believe that this Black Lake District was established in a way that was biased. And I would agree that this is not something that should stand. And it's ironic to me that the that the very bonds that people have been forced to pay for this, poisoning of the lake and the old school way that we've decided to remove things that are in our way, that is the very reason that you can't dissolve the district. That in fact, it means because there's bonds outstanding that many of these people probably don't really want to be paying, that in fact, now that means that it's taken away the commission's ability to dissolve this district. So I guess my main point would be, hey, let's make sure that we are in suspension, really addressing some of the environmental issues that Black Lake represents to our entire region. And that it's not just a few pleasure boaters on this lake that are making this decision, and that we are making a decision that really represents the entire population of our region, which would then have to be about health, and it would have to be about habitat, and it would have to be about making a smart decision about the environment.
No.
That's our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to repeat, you do not need to raise your hand. I will call you based on the order that I see on my Zoom screen. So please lower your hand because I will call you when the time comes. Next on my Zoom screen, I have Mr. Richard Nevitt. Moving down the list, next I have Mr. Alan Crane.
Thank you. I actually didn't sign up to testify, just to observe. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Bob Jacobs.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, sir. 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Bob Jacobs, and I live at 720 Governor Stevens Avenue in Olympia. I've been following the Black Lake issue for several years. It's very strange. We have a flood control district for a lake that doesn't flood. We have a flood control district board that reportedly openly admits all it cares about is motorboats, not flooding. We have an expensive lake management plan on a shelf gathering dust. We have huge amounts of chemicals dumped into the lake to control aquatic vegetation, but no apparent effort to identify and deal with the causes of the aquatic vegetation problem. We have a county refusing to make documents available to the public before this hearing. And we have governmental actions inconsistent with current local and state environmental policies. It all looks very fishy, and not the kind of fishy that indicates a healthy ecosystem. It's the kind of a situation that leads people to wonder who our elected officials are working for, because it apparently isn't the public. I urge you to take seriously all the information that Citizens for a Clean Black Lake have brought to you and do what is right for the whole community. Let common sense prevail.
Thank you, sir. Can you please mute yourself so I can move on? Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Bonnie Blessing. Ms. Blessing? No.
Hello, can you hear me? I live at 6123 North Hill Drive Southwest in Thurston County. I use Black Lake for swimming and recreating and for watching the birds. I read through some of the documents on the Black Lake Special District website and other documents, and it seems they have a short-term plan and a long-term plan. The short-term plan was to aggressively fight some of the alum and herbicide, fight the hazardous algal blooms that they say are caused by the high phosphorus with alum, and they did use alum, and it got to fairly high levels. And then they're also going to use herbicide in the short-term plan, and they've already used a lot of that stuff, as you well know. But I also went to the county lakes information. There's some county lakes information, and it seems like the nitrogen to phosphorus ratio is getting very high. And that's actually kind of a good thing because it minimizes some of these algal blooms and lowers the risk of the toxic the toxic algae, namely microcystis and such, that can be bad. Alum is toxic, but so is microcystis. My sister's dog got very sick from that, not on Black Lake, but since the N to P ratio is so high, maybe we don't need to use so much alum. So maybe the district can go to that long-term plan of not using alum. Also, citizens might be able to use weed rakes rather than applying herbicide. I think that was in the long-term plan. And the district said it supported Thurston County's plan for what's it called? The Black Lake Basin Water Resource Protection Study by Thurston County. The district said it supported that, but that plan, that study by Thurston County recommended like treating stormwater, improving the health of the lake, and didn't really emphasize alum and herbicide. And finally, two other things, designated critical habitat for some pretty sensitive aquatic species either touches or comes very close to the lake tributaries or outlets. And at least some surveys should be done to find out if those special species are on the edge of the lake. And it doesn't seem like that's been done. In both federal maps, state maps, and county planning documents say they might be there. And then finally, there's wells adjoining the lake. Do we know if the alum or herbicides are getting to those wells? Thank you very much. Bye-bye. I think they can improve, go to the long-term plan and stop using the chemicals in the lake with better studies and understanding the lake ecology. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I have Mr. Brian Wilmowski. Mr. Brian Wilmowski. No, okay.
Am I on?
Yeah, go ahead, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, hi. Hey, this is Dr. Brian Wilmowski. Hi there. Excuse me. Hey, I just wanted to say a few words about what I know being involved with Black Lake, Save Black Lake and Black Lake Special District. About 10 years ago, as just a community action, we formed Save Black Lake. Save Black Lake was able to get a grant to study the invasive weed issues that we had. We had people almost drowning because we had so many weeds, much like Long Lake was, decades ago. And over that time period, once we found out, then that allowed us to become a special district. I wasn't part of forming the special district, but what I was told was the major reason was, after speaking with Long Lake, and a lot of our work is just copying the success of Long Lake, is that their overhead fees were almost 50% at certain points. The bond that's currently in place couldn't be serviced by a 50% overhead. Our overhead is much less than that. We're 30% lower. So I believe that's what I've been told why the special district was formed for that lake. Now, that all being said, we've made great strides in water quality, great strides in getting rid of the nuisance weeds that have affected the lake. And then over the years, we've pretty much enjoyed very, very positive support from the public on this matter, and very little negative from our 1,300 voters in our district. So we've used that as our guide always. We've had numerous public meetings with citizens of Black Lake and the voters in our district. And again, very positive feedback overall on what we've done. Now, we've done 2 treatments in the lake that have made huge differences in the water quality. Last year, we had a 10-foot water clarity, which, growing up on Black Lake, and the reason that I got involved is I would get sick from the lake. My animals would get sick from the lake. I hear that from many different people. And it was just green sludge. Well, we've made huge successful changes in that. And for the most part, seen some very, very positive feedback from our constituents. And I guess I just would end with, Black Lake was, a duly formed government. It was voted, the commissioners are voted by election democratically. And we have been audited several times and had flying colors. Commissioner Stensey will speak to that. And the group that has brought this suspension hearing up, personally, I didn't hear a lot from them until this year. So we're always open to ideas and guiding and how to move forward. But speaking with the same scientists that work at Long Lake and Green Lake that we used, and oversight scientists, they all told us this was the recipe for success, and we followed it. We've also discontinued glycophosphate as of 21. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Next, I have Mr. Carlos Herrera.
Done. I am so sorry.
That's okay.
I've been waiting to get on this stupid board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Herrera, go ahead, sir.
Yes, I'm Carlos Herrera. I live at 4035.
Voice stream is echoing.
And I have waterfront property at the northwest side of the lake. And I am a retired water quality scientist and engineer. And full disclosure, I'm the founder. Sorry, thank you. Full disclosure, I'm the founder of Herrera Environmental Consultants, and that's the firm that's done a great deal of investigations on Black Lakes. So I'm really familiar with the water quality issues facing the lake. However, I've been retired since 2018. I have no more affiliation with the firm, so I'm testifying as a landowner, a resident voter in the special district, and an expert in water quality. I think the special district should be maintained. It's done a really great job in managing the water quality in the lake since its inception. In particular, the alum treatment was a great success. Water quality is better than ever. The water clarity outside from my property, I measured at plus 15 feet. The snorkeling out there is amazing. We've been able to see all kinds of fish that we've never seen before. And there's been no major blue-green algae bloom on my property. And in the past, I have been able to use my dock and shore because of the blue-green algae. So the alum has been a great success. I'm not in strong favor of using herbicides for aquatic plant control because of toxicity. However, I have to say that the district has been very responsive in the way it's applied the herbicides. For instance, we have great bass and panfish habitat in front of our property, and we have always requested that they not treat in front of our property, and they have not ever treated, so they've been very responsive to our request. And one final comment I wanted to make is that the majority of the phosphorus, fecal coliform, and contaminants that come into the lake come from runoff and inflows into the lake. And yet we as lakefront owners are having to fully fund dealing with the water quality issues that this runoff is creating. And instead of abolishing the special district, the county should look at ways to expand the boundaries of the district in order to include the areas that are draining into the lake, in order that we might raise funds from the landowners and land users that are contributing to the problems in the lake, and give the district actually more power in dealing with the pollutant sources and controlling pollutants into the lake. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Ms. Carrie LaRue.
I didn't intend to do a full conversation, but I will say that I am at 5700 Black Lake Boulevard at Columbus Park, and we also have lots of users of the lake that live here, as well as that visit with us. And over the last couple of years, our water quality has been exponentially better. We also support the district. And I agree with Mr. Herrera that it would be, I think, beneficial to expand the district boundaries to include more individuals that also are a part of that runoff process that is happening and going into the lake. I believe one of the studies that we got from the special use district years ago was that there are some creek and river sources that come in that have upland contaminants per se, coming from other housing communities and things like that that are not directly on the lake. So I would support the special use district continuing and potentially expanding that boundary. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Charlotte Persons.
Go. Okay. Hi, I'm Charlotte Persons at 903 Glass Avenue Northeast, Olympia, Washington. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, as a resident of Thurston County, I'm concerned about the health of Black Lake over the long term. It's our county's largest freshwater body of water, and it's a critical source through groundwater that drains from it for our drinking water. To the south of the lake is the source for the Black River. It's a tributary to the Chehalis River that provides recreational salmon fishing. And in 1995, the Black River unit of the Billy Frank Jr. Nisqually National Wildlife Refuge recognized the confluence of Black Lake and the Black River and its wetlands for the importance to wildlife protection, including salmon species and the Oregon spotted frog. Black Lake also drains through groundwater into the Puget Sound. Concentrated chemical pollution in Black Lake could leach into Bud Inlet and further decimate its wildlife, including salmon and other fish that feed birds and orca. Black Lake needs a permanent solution to protect these precious water resources that are important to both us and humans and wildlife. More important to me than perhaps the flawed process of scheduling this public hearing was the Citizens for Black Lake's petition. Is the question of whether the Black Lake Special District should be suspended. I urge you to suspend it for two reasons. First, the district's history shows that it has not protected Black Lake from pollution over the long run. The addition of toxic chemicals to kill water plants and to tamp down algae blooms will in the end only create further problems. Little attempt has been made to curb the sources of pollution such as septic tank leaks and stormwater runoffs. Just as important, a flood control district is not the correct jurisdictional body to handle Black Lake's problems. I ask you to consider favorably the suspension of Black Lake Special District so that the county can take over the direct supervision of its problems in fighting pollution. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I have Mr. Chris Herman.
Thank you. My name is Chris Herman. I live at 6430 Guerin Street. Live here on lake frontage. I don't have prepared remarks, but I appreciate the opportunity to share my perspective. I grew up as a child living on Black Lake. It was my dream to grow up and put myself in a position where I could own a home on Black Lake. I have done that. I live here with my family, my wife and 6 children, and we have for the past 6 or 7 years, and we absolutely love it. Black Lake is one of the best lakes in the county. We have, in my opinion, thanks to the special district and their work to this point, we are establishing a reputation that this lake is clean. When surrounding lakes, including Summit and Long Lake and others, are having algae blooms, the evidence is abundantly clear. We're not. Something seems to be working here. So that's just a little bit of history and kind of my perspective. Admittedly, I know very little about the district. I'm not involved, have never attended a meeting, but I appreciate the work that they've done. The second thing that I want to say is I'm a little dismayed, very confused as to why this hearing went forward if it was seemingly filed incorrectly or under misinterpretations of law. I feel like there those petitions that was posted by the county. I was not aware of them till I read them on the county websites. Certainly inflammatory in their wording of what they were trying to accomplish, what their objections were. Very interesting. I appreciated hearing from Mr. Herrera, a water scientist, tell us that the water quality's never been better on Black Lake. So this whole thing seems a little bit of a waste of time, of everybody's time, for I don't know. It seems like throwing kind of a hissy fit of some of the stuff, some of the chemicals that have put in the lake. I don't understand this particular process for raising those concerns as opposed to raising those concerns within the special district itself, rather than taking this step. I am in favor of not dissolving the Black Lake Special District, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Mr. David Heath. Mr. Heath? Okay. Next, I have Ms. Lori Lively.
Yes, hi.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I live at 215 18th Avenue Southeast in Olympia. Did not prepare any formal remarks, but I do believe that I would urge you all to consider suspension if dissolving is not the appropriate response at this point. The very least we could do is stop further action until the problem has been truly addressed. It's far too large an issue to be overseen by a 3-member board made up of lakefront property owners. And it should be overseen by the management of the county and the Department of Ecology, because it is because of the fact that Black Lake feeds into or overlies those city wells in Olympia and Tumwater and what they call the 16 critical area recharge areas. That's a big portion of the strategic groundwater reservation for the capital. And it affects the water we drink and bathe in. For that reason alone, this should be given top priority. And if suspension is the appropriate next step, we can't go for dissolution. Let's at least do that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you please lower your hand? Thank you. Let me move down. Okay. Next, I have Miss Deanna Gregory.
Hi, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, ma'am. 3 minutes.
Great, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I don't know if you need to provide my address now or later, but I am a partner at Pacifica Law Group in Seattle, Washington, and our firm serves as bond counsel to the district for a host of reasons, including those described in the March 7th letter that was submitted yesterday from the Phillips Burgess Law Firm with comments from our firm as part of the written testimony. We requested the commissioners deny the request to stop district operations as it is not in the public interest. As it was mentioned earlier today, and I am going to mainly speak towards the bonds here since our firm does serve as bond counsel. The district went through the rigorous statutory process to issue the revenue bonds payable from those special assessments to finance the treatment that's been discussed today. Issuance of this bonds for this purpose is authorized by state law and requires a really rigorous process that first, of course, involves obtaining a variety of approvals from the county. This approval process requires a public hearing on the assessment roll and the public's right to appeal that assessment roll after, and no such appeal was received. After receiving the required approval by the county, the district proceeded to issue its currently outstanding special assessment bond. in March of 2021. The bond is payable semi-annually over a 20-year term. Key to this, the issuance of the bond, is the special assessments. Those are really at the heart of the credit, and was really what was relied on by the lender, the bank, to purchase the bond and to provide the funding for the project. It is long established law that municipal bonds are protected by the contracts clause in the Washington State Constitution, and the contractual relationship between the issuer municipality and the lender are protected by the contracts clause. The bond here is a special revenue obligation of the district. It is only payable from and secured by special assessments and amounts that are deposited in the guaranteed fund. The district has covenant in the bond documents, which of course were part of that contractual relationship with the lender, that it would continue to collect those special assessments and apply those special assessments until the bond is repaid in full. And the bond is not subject to acceleration. It can be prepaid early at the option of the district, but it cannot be accelerated. And there's no other source of revenue or county obligation or state obligation or any other obligation to repay the bond. Those special assessments really are the key. And so ceasing operations of the district would interfere with the district's ability to collect those assessments and therefore interfere with its contractual obligations to the lender.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I have Ms. Heather Burgess.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Heather Burgess with Phillips Burgess at 111 Southwest 21st Street in Olympia, Washington. Our firm serves as general counsel to the Black Lake Special District, and we respectfully request on behalf of the district that the board decline to suspend the district's operations following today's public hearing, as doing so would not be in the public interest, which is the applicable legal standard. Our office submitted written comment on this matter yesterday. The written comment, which as Ms. Gregory noted, was prepared in conjunction with the district's bond counsel, provides the board with substantial detail regarding the voter-approved formation of the district, its operations, including permitting and completion of the alum treatment on Black Lake that's been referred to today, and the district's continued debt service obligations under the special assessment bond, which the board authorized on November 10th, 2020. The written comment also provides our detailed legal responses to the issues raised in the petitions as a basis for suspension, and we ask that the board carefully consider those comments prior to rendering a decision on the request. As detailed in those comments, the petition before the board today is the latest in a series of collateral attacks over the last 2 years intended to impede or stop the district's lawful operation. I characterize these activities as collateral attacks as they are outside the well-established permit and appeal processes which were available to members of the public, including the petitioners, to address their core concerns. For example, to the extent that the petitioners assert that the improper use of alum treatment is a basis for suspension, the district received permit coverage from Ecology for that treatment on April 1st of 2016, which was not timely appealed by any party to the Pollution Control Hearing Board. Ecology therefore properly declined to entertain a petition filed in October of 2020 to issue a declaratory judgment to revoke that coverage. Similarly, to the extent petitioners believe that the special assessments form a basis for suspension, this Board of County Commissioners held a public hearing on the system of special assessment and adopted an ordinance approving it on September 29th, 2020, which could have been appealed within 20 days and was not. Our comment letter also addresses the fact that the assessments can be levied unequally as a matter of state law in response to those comments. To the extent that there are concerns regarding the operations of the district, I'd like to remind the commission, as noted in some of the other comments, that the district is a public agency subject to programmatic audits by the state auditor's office, which have identified no compliance issues. It is also subject to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, the Public Records Act, and maintains an extensive website with meeting information and district records. We respectfully request that the board decline the petition and invitation to suspend the district's operations. Appreciate the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I have Ms. Helen Whitley.
2218 Mermit Court, Southeast Olympia. And I don't have prepared comments, but I support the suspension of the district. I think it's a fine idea to allow the district to continue to pay for what it voted to do. And so suspension seems like the better choice. There's no reason why the general public should have to pay for that. I challenge the idea that any challenge to what it does should be through the process of the district itself. You've heard from a lot of people speaking today that they see Black Lake as part of a larger picture and water quality as part of a larger picture than what immediately concerns people within the immediate district. It's a county-wide issue and it's a statewide issue. So go ahead and suspend and let them continue to pay for what they did. And then I urge commissioners to explore what probably should have happened in the first place. And what puzzles me is that it didn't, and that is to create a lake management district, which seems like the more appropriate approach. And it's the best umbrella under which to consider issues of water quality and how to treat the lake. And to those who live on the lake and believe that it's just the special purpose district that created the better water quality, I'm not entirely sure about that because it's a very large lake. It's different to a lot of the other lakes in the county. So I also would urge the commissioners to think more broadly, maybe put together a program to look at the lake issue more broadly, because as you heard today, there are a lot of issues that affect the water quality of the lakes, and I'm not sure that we're doing the greatest job of approaching that. So those, I think, are the sum of my comments, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Jack Funk.
Thank you. Jack Funk, 6248 Guerin Street, waterfront owner. As a lakefront owner, we heavily use the lake. We are in the water every day, paddleboarding, swimming, canoeing, skiing. And for us, water quality is important. I totally agree. I think everybody has the same goal, that they want good water quality. But I think there are short-term and long-term things we have to do to maintain that. And so I think working toward that solution is a good middle ground. I'm disappointed that we're trying to use a technicality of a flood district designation to disband good work. And I just commend Brian and Carlos and others that have a vested interest, have participated in the cleanup of this lake. And it's a great lake. I think we need to keep it that way. And so I'm a little hurt by the fact that people that don't live on the lake assume that as a waterfront owner, I don't have the best interest of the lake in mind. And that's been brought up several times at the board. Our lakefront owners, they only have boating in mind. That's not true. I have my family in mind, my grandkids. We love swimming, and so quality is very important to me. I also, I guess, take a little bit of an insult that's saying it's been poisoned. I don't believe it's been poisoned. I don't think that ecology lets us poison our lakes. So I know there's a difference of opinion in that, but sometimes you have to take measures to clean up the messes that have taken place in the past. And I think that the underlying problem of sewage draining into the lake from even not waterfront owners, but from back in the watershed, I think that's a concern. I think that maybe we should expand our focus to try to address that, or maybe push on the county to address more of that. But then also understand that the county is busy. They have other things going on. And by having dedicated folks that care to manage the lake is something we should be, thankful for. We should participate in the process. And I think just being critical of it sends the wrong message. You guys are doing a great job, and I fully support keeping the district in place. And thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Mr. Jason, no last name.
Hello, this is Jason Mosebar. I live at 5010 Black Lake Boulevard. We are waterfront property owners. And I guess I'd mostly like to comment is I'm relatively new to Thurston County. I moved up here probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And with the dream of always living on a lake, I will say that when I told people I was looking at Black Lake as a place to buy a home, a lot of people in the county said, "Ooh, Black Lake, that's a dirty lake. You don't want to swim in there." That was concerning. I bought a place anyway, and I was so excited I decided to get active. And there has been numerous mailings, postcards, and different ways to try to reach the public to come and attend meetings. I started attending meetings probably within the first month or two. I continue to attend meetings. And at most of the meetings, and this was kind of pre-pandemic, the commissioners of Black Lake Special District were always saying, how can we reach more people? How can we get more people's input? And they would have those discussions, and they tried several different things, but people just did not come. They did not attend. They did not give their support. If they were there, and if they had some of these concerns, this probably would have gone or could have gone in a different direction. I have noticed that this group, who we believe has been kind of bully-ish in their tactics, this is all coming about now because a bond was passed. And up until that point, there were no issues. And I also believe there's a lot of people on the lake that think that Black Lake Special District are doing great things, and they're not attending some of these meetings because they're in favor of how and the direction that it's going. So I think that's all my comments for today. Thank you very much, commissioners. I do appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Mr. Jerry Durker. Please go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name's Jerry Durker. I live on Cooper Point Road, and I have a pond that's in hydraulic continuity with the Black Lake Aquifer as part of the sole source aquifer for the city of Olympia and the state capital strategic groundwater preserve. It is not supposed to have any chemicals or anything put into the area surrounding these lakes and other areas in Thurston County. This is one of those things. For 30 years, I've been trying to protect the water of Thurston County from herbicide and other actions created by the state of Washington and Thurston County, as well as many of the pesticide operators here. I have to say that this is a very serious problem here, and that we object to the way that the county attorney, who is in a conflict of interest with the through the prosecuting attorney's office here, as member of the Chamber of Commerce, that Heather Burgess is the attorney for and one of the principals of. And as we all know, under Article 2, Section 30 of the Washington State Constitution, if you have an interest in a matter, you have to state that you have an interest in a matter and recuse yourself. Well, apparently, the Thurston County doesn't do that here, and that's why I asked for a point of order to begin with to stop this proceeding, because it was unconstitutional. Fine, really, we asked for two things when we asked for when we put in our petition. One was a petition for suspension, and one was a petition for request for a petition for dissolution, because we do not believe that that you can that there's a public interest in using a flood control district as in this way. We believe that it's improper for you to consider anything that isn't concerning flood control from any of the people purporting by the lake, because water quality issues are not proper. Finally, I have to tell you that the Department of Ecology and the EPA have just recently lost a federal court case where they find that the Department of Ecology routinely issues permits to allow to put pollutants into places all over the place, and it's wrong. And the federal court has bit them really hard for that. And so do not make any representations that the Department of Ecology said it was okay, because that's not any good. Finally, the bond doesn't fall upon the county. That's what it says on the bond if you actually read it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Mr. Jim Lazar.
Thanks very much. Jim Lazar, 1907 Lakehurst Drive, Olympia. I live near Ward Lake. Ward Lake is a swimming lake. Several years ago, a lot of us were concerned about decreasing water clarity, and a group of lake residents began exploring our options, including the idea of an alum treatment. As part of that, we met with the county staff, which explained the option of a lake management district organized under RCW 3661, and of a special district organized under RCW 8538, and that's what the Black Lake District is. Several of the lake residents that were involved in our effort were attorneys. They advised us that a special district did not have the authority needed, and that we would need to form a lake management district. The Black Lake Special District was formed under the Ditch and Diking District Law. You should say. The law is clear. RCW 8538.010 sub 4 defines a special district as a diking district, a drainage district, a diking drainage or sewer improvement district, an inter-county diking and draining district, a consolidated diking district, a drainage district, diking improvement district and or drainage improvement district, or a flood control district. That's not what this district is doing. They're doing things that a lake management district does. I support the suspension of the Black Lake Special District to halt this rogue organization from taking any actions beyond the authority of a ditch and diking district. I think that this hearing should have started with the petitioners saying what they were asking for. I think that when citizens petition you, you need to give the petitioners the first word. Helen Wheatley suggested, and another person suggested, increasing inspection and maintenance of septic in the Black Lake area. I think that's a great idea. That's something the county commissioners can do. It has nothing to do with the district. It's a good idea. You should do it. Finally, a comment on how this hearing is being held. People should sign up. The sign-up list should be posted. People who come in late should be allowed to speak at the end. We should know our place in line. We should be able to use our time more efficiently than this. One of the early speakers obviously was quite frustrated with the delay that he had experienced. You really need somebody who knows how to run a meeting in charge of this. You don't have that now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Mr. and Mrs. J.J. Lindsay.
I already spoke as JJ, and I don't know where you got Mr. and Mrs., but anyway, yeah, I already spoke, and I wanted to add that.
No,
in fact,
if you already spoke, ma'am, your time is up. So move on to the next person. Next, I have Mr. John Hunkley. Mr. John Hunkley? No, okay. Next, I have Mr. John Pettit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I observed the meeting back when the bond was approved. The bond was approved.
Sir, can you state where you reside in the county?
Oh, I live in East Olympia, and I have people at Black Lake that have requested previously that I get involved and testify, and I did at the hearing back in October 29 of 2020. I'm here again, and I want to mention a couple things. Number one is, as far as the actions that the special district has done, from my observations, it appears to be very much in line and under the same direction that Thurston County gives to the lake management districts. And while I was and am opposed to the citizens and the property owners surrounding a lake to be the responsible parties for cleaning up what is the state waters, I think the tipping point here that's caused this problem is the fact that the people who have become indebted by a vote of two commissioners, one unelected and the other one, Mr. Menzer, have been subjected to thousands or tens of thousands of dollars of debt applied to a specific 179 pieces of property. That's enough to irritate people and excuse the language, piss them off. We're here now. And one of the comments, which I think is common, I kind of suggested it at the original hearing, was you should probably give that opportunity for people to vote on things. As the county commissioners, it was your obligation to do oversight before just approving someone to spend money and impale the certain people with debt. You can't do that on a county basis yourselves without a vote. So if you believe in democracy, you should probably go that way. This is a county-wide issue. It's a statewide issue. And the biggest contributor to pollution to the lake actually is, and always has been, the roads which belong to Thurston County. So I would suggest this. Number one is recognize where the problem was. First, you didn't let the people that are going to have to pay for it vote. Second is that everyone's paying for it because we all contribute through our stormwater fees for a portion or the reduced stormwater fees of those at the lake. So I would leave it alone. I think from what I've observed, they have done a job in accordance about the same way as the lake management. Don't suspend them, but evaluate how you can improve the system. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Mr. Lake Stinzy.
Hello, I'm Lake Stinzy. I'm one of the board members on the Black Lake Special District. I've submitted written comments previously, and I wanted to just go over and highlight just 2 or 3 of those comments. First, I think it's been mentioned that we have to follow the Open Meetings Act of Washington. That means that anyone can listen in and contribute to our meetings. We post those online for our schedule and our time, and we're broadcasting those meetings via Zoom for convenience of anyone, for all people. Wanted to move on and talk about the herbicides that the district applies to the lake. In 2021, herbicides were applied to 1.9% of the 570 acres of Black Lake. Herbicides are only applied in front of homes and or beaches that are used for swimming and fishing. We do not apply herbicides to undeveloped properties or undeveloped waterfront. And these herbicides are applied by licensed applicators with the Washington Department of Agriculture. And the herbicides applied are those that are approved by the Department of Ecology. There's been mention about the main causes of problems on the lake as being stormwater runoff. and septic effluent. Stormwater runoff has been a problem, beginning with logging activities in the 1800s and the construction of roads and housing in the 1900s. It's not possible to undo these past developments. We are watchful for streams entering the lake with turbidity. There was an incident in January of 2021 where a stream was found to be turbid coming from the Black Lake Heights Lane, and we involved Thurston County's stormwater utility to help in correcting that. Regarding septic effluent, over a 2-year period, we conducted a very, very comprehensive pollutant study of the 15 or 18 streams and rivulets entering the lake. We found 3 streams with high nutrients and septic effluent entering the lake. We referred this matter to Thurston County's Environmental Health, who have the authority over septic systems. In the short term, the district sent letters.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Your
Thank
time
you.
is up. Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Lanita Grice.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Lanita Grice. I live at 4707 Black Lake Belmore Road Southwest in a trailer, number 54, at the Timberlane Orchard Home Park. I have put my name on one of the petitions for the suspension of the district, not because I have argument against the members of the board. I've attended many of the meetings regularly. I'm an attender and sometimes I speak at the meetings, and I encourage anyone who's interested to do so. I have 2 issues. One of them is that because I do not own the piece of dirt on which my home stands, and by the way, I am a homeowner, I do get assessed property tax by the Thurston County Assessor's Office, and my name is on a parcel. However, because I don't own the dirt, I have no vote here. So I'm paying through my raised rent for this bond. So that's, for me, it's a clear case of taxation without representation. And I feel that it's very undemocratic. I'm not arguing with any of the operations of the district itself, but I would like to argue that it was established inappropriately under RCW 8538. 8538 is clearly meant for diking, drainage, and flood control. And of the long list of special powers, all of which have to do with flood control, drainage ditches, floodgates, tide gates, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I invite you to read 8538.180. There is one phrase or 2 phrases that apply to what it seems to me the district actually is doing: aquatic plant control and water quality enhancement. I have no problem with that. However, we already have in the revised Code of Washington a very much better description of the kinds of things I would like to see done on the lake under the lake management chapter of the RCW 36.61.010. And a couple of the lawyers mentioned public interest. I would like to point them to the beginning of the chapter on lake management districts. Says, the legislature further finds that it is in the public interest to promote the conservation and stewardship of shorelines and upland properties adjoining lakes and beaches in order to A, conserve natural or scenic resources, B, protect riparian habitats and water quality, C, promote.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Please do read the RCW before making a decision.
Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Lisa Reiner.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
2103 Harrison Avenue Northwest. I've been swimming in Black Lake since the early 1980s, and I was struck by the comment by Mr. Herrera, the ecologist, the chemist, regarding the permit for Black Lake. He mentioned the alum being processed through the lake, but he also mentioned the herbicides, as did the last speaker. Many of us are concerned about these herbicides. We know many who have cancer, and I think the issue regarding herbicides must be examined fully by the county. I remember a few years ago, before Ty Mincer was elected Thurston County Commissioner, we had a discussion about having a $5 a year special district fee put to those who had septic tanks, because this to me is a septic tank issue, leaking septic tanks coming into the lake. We need to, as a county, go forward with that assessment on monitoring the septic tanks and how they're affecting Black Lake. As you know, many of the lakes around here have swimmer's itch. And of course, swimmer's itch is a microscopic parasite that latches on to swimmers. I've seen families come down. And so there are many issues regarding water quality. We know that it has not really been discussed during these meetings. When people refer to water quality, what are they referring to? Are they referring to the herbicides? Are they referring to the parasites in the water? Are they referring to, there are many different issues when you define water quality, and the water quality in Black Lake, I believe, needs to be improved. I know that some of the people on this phone call have said, oh, it's wonderful, it's clear. Well, I think there are other parameters that we should look at water quality. I'm wondering if the Department of Ecology has fully addressed these issues lately. I heard that the permit for ecology was approved over a decade ago, and I wish they would look at this again. I hope you suspend this Black Lake Special District and allow the County Health Department to fully go forward on many of these important issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Lottie Mosebar. Next, I have Mr. and Mrs. Pat McFadden. Next, I have Mr. Rich Martinez.
Sorry, Lottie here.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
Sorry about that. My kids are playing with my phone. Lottie Mosebar, 5010 Black Lake Boulevard, Southwest. I just want to say that I fully support. I don't see it in the public's best interest suspending the special district. I feel like if we ask an already overloaded county to take on more, that just wouldn't be good for anybody. Also want to just mention what others have, that the special district follows the Open Meeting Act, and we really encourage anybody that's out there to come out and get involved. And it's been great to hear from some homeowners on the lake today and hear all the positive support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Robert Vedas.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yes. I live in East Olympia. I'm a aquatic scientist with a specializing in fisheries. I did see the lake several years ago, or I should say I did my snorkeling refresher there, for safety issues. And yes, many years ago, it looked like pea soup. But that's not the case anymore. What was originally done was done with good intentions to try to clean up some of that eutrophication But keep in mind that the lake is named Black Lake because of its humic acids and other things that leach from the conifers. That's very natural. They're buffered acids. In contrast, alum is is basically aluminum sulfate, and both those things are not good for fishes. And we know that in great detail from back east and in Europe with acid rain many years ago. That was a big problem, and it was a big problem because the nitrates, and sulfates were getting into the water, turning into nitric and sulfuric acid. That's the type of things that a mafia person would throw in somebody's face. But the point is that you're basically trying to create distilled water, and distilled water is overkill. And I mean that in all senses of the word. It gets rid of everything, and it doesn't support fisheries anymore. Black Lake is being turned into an aquatic playground that will not support fisheries forever. Like back east, there'll be a collapse, and there'll be nothing able to grow in the lake. What was originally done was to try to clean up the problem, but at this point, we now have a new problem, and that's creating a lake that's more acidic, and more acidic means less productivity. It's a little bit analogous to ocean acidification in some ways, but worse because this is, lakes are smaller and they can change much more quickly. And alkaline conditions tend to be the best for fishes. And the other thing, keep in mind that this is in the Chehalis River Basin, where there's a lot of restoration efforts going elsewhere. And this lake is sort of an anachronism, in terms of the management now. Again, I would like to say, is I don't want to criticize the landowners for their concern of the original eutrophication, but now the problem is opposite, and creating a situation where nothing is going to be able to grow in the lake. Also keep in mind that everything should be in balance. You've got, if you have too much aquatic weeds, you'll have less phytoplankton. If you have too much phytoplankton, you'll have less aquatic weeds because they compete with each other. And ultimately, a good balance is you have a little bit of everything. And so please, I definitely support suspension of the district for a different adaptive management style, if not dissolution. And one other thing, if you do use herbicide, Roundup is worse than glyphosate pure because the byproducts are what's real bad. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Miss Sadie Normoyle.
I am on 4527 Black Lake Belmore Road, which is lakefront property. I'm a third generation to live at that property, and so it's been in my family for a long time. I am an environmental attorney, and I've always been someone who's very concerned for environmental quality and water quality, particularly of Black Lake. I would just like to comment today, urging you to suspend the Black Lake Special District so that the concerns of so many of us can be properly addressed rather than by a group of only 3 people. I believe the lake can support multiple uses, including recreational use, but that water quality is a huge concern to many of us and needs to be properly addressed, and that recognize that chemicals are not always the best way to address invasive species. Not everyone was able to vote on the creation of this district, even lakefront owners. And so although a lot has been said about the transparency of the special district, I don't agree with that. I know many others don't as well. The district seems to solely be concerned about voting interests and doesn't address the holistic health of the lake and its environment. And that is why I again urge you to suspend the Black Lake Special District so that we can create a more holistic approach for the health of the lake and the people that live on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Shari Silverman.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
All right, my name is Shari Silverman, and I live at 4706 Stonegate Street Southeast in Lacey. I'm speaking today as a Thurston County resident, even though I do not live in the Black Lake area. I urge the commission to selectively suspend some actions of this district. It appears that there are some significant environmental concerns that need to be addressed. I am very concerned. One thing I didn't know about was how there are several people living on one piece of property who are having to pay for this, but they get no votes. And that does seem to be an issue. And I'm not sure that was considered when the district was formed. But as far as going forward as to whether the district should be suspended or just allowed to continue as is, I urge the commission, I urge the Board of County Commissioners to suspend this with an eye towards making sure that the environmental concerns are addressed. And I do also want to mention one thing about a previous commenter. I believe it was the representative from Philip Burgess who pointed out that the Department of Ecology and some other areas had not acted on certain things because materials were not submitted in a timely manner. Of course, it's very important for everyone to submit things in a timely manner, and I agree with that. But I also want to point out that rejecting something because it is not submitted in a timely manner is not the same as rejecting something because it is invalid. The validity of what was submitted, even if it was not in a timely manner, the validity of that was never voted on or never considered. So I just want to make sure that no one has the misapprehension that somehow because these things were not acted on, that somehow they were invalid. And okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Let me check the conference call. For those members of the public who have joined us via conference call, could you please mute your phones until I call your name? Please mute your phones on the conference call. Well, we'll see. Next, I have Mr. Todd Tipp.
Hello, my name's Todd Tipp. We live at 7043 Fairview Road. We're Black Lake waterfront owners. We purchased our home in 2013, and I was really skeptical about purchasing this home. In 13, I had concerns because, well, quite honestly, the lake looked like Capitol Lake. It looked like a toilet, and it didn't look like it was going to get any better. And my wife let me know that Black Lake Special District was getting formed, and I think it got formed around 2014-ish, and they were going to clean up the lake. And we always wanted to live on a lake, so we went ahead, pulled the trigger, bought the home. The first year swimming here, you get tangled up in the weeds that were growing in the lake. I break out in hives. My kids would break out in hives. My wife would break out in hives from the water, from the quality of the water. So going forward to last summer, it was the first summer we never had an algae bloom. And all those years prior, you couldn't even use the lake for a good month and a half at the end of the summer because of the quality of the water and the algae bloom that took place. But again, last summer was the first summer that I didn't get tangled up in weeds. I didn't break out in hives. My son's an avid fisherman. He catches lots of fish out of this lake. There's huge bass in Black Lake. There's really nice trout in the lake. And I don't see the fish dying. They're prospering and doing well. And the fish are good eating. They don't look like they're in bad shape when they come out of the water when we're frying them up on the pan and cleaning them. They're really nice quality fish. We have a lot of other fishermen that are on the lake, and people come from around the county to specifically fish this lake because it is such a good quality of fishing. What the Black Lake Special District's done is amazing, what they've done for the lake at a small cost. And on a weekend, we live next to the boat ramp. on a weekend, that boat ramp is packed solid with people. All members of this community in Thurston County use this lake for recreation, whether it's swimming, snorkeling, paddle boarding. It's a very active lake in the summertime. I just think it would be a huge mistake to get rid of the Black Lake Special District, especially after everything they've done. And again, prior to them coming here and doing what they've done, the lake was a toilet. The county's done nothing to take care of it. Black Lake Special District stepped up and made this lake a much better place for all community members to enjoy and use in the summer. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Mr. Trey Normoyle.
Hi, it's Tree Normoyle.
Go ahead. Sorry, ma'am.
It's all right. And I live at Black Lake Belmar Road. I am a waterfront landowner on Black Lake. I am supporting suspension. I've lived on the lake for 30 years. And I've watched the biology and the environment on the lake change over the past 20 years. We have had water quality issues for sure, and there is erosion that is occurring. I think I'm just one of many landowners who are worried about the future of the lake. I believe that lake restoration should focus on the underlying cause of the changes in the lake and shouldn't simply focus on a quick fix. I do feel that our current management of the lake seems more centered on improving, simply improving water quality versus long-term strategies for a comprehensive approach to lake and watershed health. I'd also like to share my personal experience with the formation of the Black Lake Special District. And I have not experienced it as being as transparent as, say, their July newsletter stated. And, I'm being very honest, when I was reading that newsletter, which was great, I really appreciated it, but I felt like I was in an altered reality. I noted in there that it said that the district was formed after a vote of parcel owners within the district, which sounds like everyone voted them in. And that is not what I experienced. I did not have a vote, nor did my husband or other family members. And I think it's been really confusing as to what the Black Lake Special District is and its purpose. And I believe that is true because I've talked to other people who think the county is the Black Lake Special District. They don't understand that it's a different office. So what I would say is that we need good long-term management for the future of the lake. We need to take into consideration the history, the biology, the environment of the lake for all life on the lake, not just for human recreational use. And I know that long-term management is a big undertaking, but I think if we get the right mix of individuals with expertise and background in ecology and water quality, as well as those who are interested in the recreational aspect, I think we can do much better. And I think we need to rethink it. And that's why I agree with the suspension.
Thank you. Next, I have Ms. Victoria Smith.
Hello.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm Victoria Smith, 4045 49th Avenue Southwest on Black Lake. I am representing over 70 dwellings that are on the lake that are, I think, being assessed, or I know are being assessed, but not represented by this special district. This is a public lake, as much of the testimony has explained. Everybody in the county and the state use this lake, yet we have a special district of homeowners who are being assessed to manage and take care of this lake and 2 mobile home parks, which are affordable housing communities that were established in the 60s, are on this lake, and those individuals are being assessed at a rate similar to other homeowners for the maintenance of this lake, and they don't have any votes. They're not represented. So I think it's the woman who lives over in Timber Lane that explained it best. This is taxation without representation. So for that reason, I do recommend that we suspend this Black Lake Special District until we can figure out how people who are tax exempt, and we have many of them that are property owners, but they have tax exempt status because of their income level. We have not, even though I've requested it multiple times, we have not been able to figure out a way for them to not be assessed this money. So that's one of the big reasons. The other one is that a group of homeowners on the Black Lake, you know, I'm not saying they don't enjoy this lake. We all enjoy this lake, but it's difficult to not be biased and to want to do things with the lake. But this is a public lake, and we need to do things that are in the public interest, not just some homeowners that are living around the lake. This has a big impact on our county, our state, as we've heard. And yes, fish have been killed. They come up on shore after this, let's not call it poisoning, but this treatment. You know, it certainly killed plants, but it's difficult to imagine that it can kill certain living things and not other living things. So from that perspective, I also recommend that we suspend the Black Lake Special District.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate the time. Next, I have Mr. Vince Geillner.
Yeah, sorry, that's Vince Gildner.
Geillner, thank you.
Yeah, I live at 4210 52nd Avenue Southwest. That is, I am a Black Lake homeowner. I am also, like the lady down the lake from me talked about a little while ago, I'm a 3rd generation in this house. My great uncle built this house in 1946. Great grandfather settled this road in 1927, and used to be the Deeds Road, named after him, but the county decided we don't want names, we want numbers now. But so I would just like to say I'm in full support of the district, the management district, and I want to let the people that have been running the district, management district, know that how appreciative I am of their efforts. I grew up, I lived in this house when I was 1 year old, and I started swimming in this lake around that time, and fishing and water skiing and swimming, and that was basically how I spent my life growing up. When I was able to buy this house for myself about 16 years ago, our lake was dying. And I mean, literally dying. It was unusable. The weeds around I'm very fortunate to have the very sandy, loamy waterfront here, where it's easy to walk out on because it's all sandy area. And that sandy area was just a place that the aquatic weeds grew so much that you could not walk out past the bulkhead. You could not use the dock. You couldn't put any boat in the dock. you couldn't fish around the dock because you couldn't get a line in there without getting hooked up on the weeds. And I have people fishing around my dock all the time, including myself. I see a lot of fish come out of that lake. I have friends and myself who fish on the lake all the time, get a lot of great trout. That is something that just was not happening a while back. What I'm hearing today is a lot of people from outside this area or outside
Thank
this
you, sir.
lake.
Your time is up. Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Walt Jorgensen.
If you don't hear me pretty soon, let me know because I can hear you.
Go ahead, sir. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Walt Jorgensen. I live at 823 North Street in Tumwater. I also own forested property south of Black Lake. Thank you very much for conducting this hearing. It's really, it's really healthy for democracy, for as many folks as possible to have their say. I'm always impressed with the knowledge of my fellow citizens, like, for instance, Helen Wheatley. The testimony in general has been very educational, and I've learned a lot, most recently from the remarks by Robert Vedas. I've witnessed countless citizen initiatives in Thurston County over the years, some absolutely amazing efforts like Rocky Prairie, Nisqually Heritage Park, Capitol Lake, the Olympia Conference Center, which doesn't exist. Some successful, some not, but I'm strained to recall one so compelling as this. The work of Jerry Durker, Esther Cronenberg, and the late Suzanne Klein is really remarkable. So please grant their petition to take the necessary steps to restore Black Lake, whatever that is. While your action will first relieve the immediate residents of Black Lake, the long-range benefits will accrue to everyone in Thurston County, and as some have suggested, perhaps beyond. Thank you for using the authority of your office to accomplish these corrective actions. And I'd like to commend Jim Lazar for noting that this hearing should have begun with a presentation or at least a summary of the petitioner's statement. In other words, to answer the question, what are we doing here? And finally, I very personal, I have to appreciate Bob Jacobs' observation that something here is fishy, but not in a good way. For those of you who know Bob, that's really high humor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Ms. Virginia Matson. Next, I have somebody with the label Works in Progress Editors. Next, I have somebody join us via telephone with the phone number last 4 digits, 1988.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, this is Esther Cronenberg.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, hi. I'm speaking as an advocate for citizens of Clean Black Lake, and I'm speaking also for Suzanne Klein, who started this this mission, I guess, unfortunately died to a cancer tied to chemicals that's often tied to these kind of chemicals before she had a chance to speak. And I want to address that, the reason we got into this is because we were concerned about water quality and the use of toxic chemicals in the drinking water. And none of these toxic chemicals have ever been subjected to any kind of SEPA review. There's been no SEPA review. If this is a legislative hearing and a legislative action, that requires a SEPA review.
SEPA determination.
A SEPA determination. And there has never been any SEPA action for the alum. There's never been any SEPA action for the herbicides. State Environmental Policy Act. and the Department of Ecology, that the permit that they were given is not even given to flood control districts. The fact that this is used as a flood control district makes it possible for any actions taken by the flood control district to avoid any kind of secret review.
Because it's an
So,
emergency.
And so we're concerned that the public interest, the overriding public interest, is not just for recreational use. I appreciate that the Black Lake District has made the water clear and safe for swimming, but there are downsides to having clear water. It just makes more weeds grow, and then you kill the weeds, and more weeds sink to the bottom, and there's more nutrients, and then you cause more algae, and it's a never-ending cycle. So all these short-term fixes are not going to be effective in preserving the lake and making it fit for all life. We believe the lake has its own right to exist in its own right as a healthy, functioning ecosystem. And I don't think the Black Lake District, for all their work keeping it safe for human recreational use, has not adequately considered the long-term effects of having an ecosystem that's continually messed with this chemical and then that chemical and then alum, by the way, which has recently been listed as a toxicant by the Department of Ecology. So to put it in a story, it's like we're in a lake, we're in a boat where one person is drilling underneath their seat, and when you ask him what he's doing, he says, "It's not your business, I'm only drilling under me." But Black Lake is everybody's business. So we are committed to pursuing the evasion of environmental law that's taken place here. And so.
Thank you, ma'am. That concludes the participants in the Zoom meeting. And let me check the conference call. Good afternoon again for those members of the public who have joined us via conference call. If you would like to provide public testimony related to the Black Lake Special Use District, please unmute yourself, state your name, where you reside in the county. You have 3 minutes.
I would like to.
Go ahead, sir. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Kevin Pestinger. I live in Lacey. I encourage the commissioners to support the petition to suspend the Black Lake Special District for all the reasons already mentioned by others very eloquently. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else in the conference call? Go ahead, sir.
Hi there. Thank you for your time. I live at 6245 Black Lake, Belmar Road. I have rented and now own on Black Lake. My family's had a house on the lake since the 1970s. I've been a huge fan of the lake, from fishing to swimming to recreational activities. And now I raise my 3 kids who are 4, 6, and 8 years old on the lake. A decade ago, you would jump in the lake, and a couple of days after, you would get that itch, the itch that everybody talked about being in Black Lake. They would always make fun of Black Lake. When we bought our house, people was like, "Why would you buy a house on that lake? This is not a fishing pond. This is a regional asset to so many people to come to enjoy, from fishing and swimming and boating. I think that all are equally important." Last year after the treatment, and I researched a lot into this because living on the lake and having kids on the lake, I wanted to make sure it was safe for my kids to jump in and play in it. Last year was the first year that we did not go to urgent care for ear infections. It was the first year that we didn't get the itch after that we swam and played in the lake. And it was also the first year that I actually completely trusted the fish that we caught and that we were able to barbecue up at night. I think each and every person on the board for volunteering their time. All of their efforts have been to create a better asset for the region. And I also have had the opportunity to talk to boaters and fishermen and women who come up onto the boat, and I have not heard one negative comment from any of them. In fact, it's been quite the opposite, that they are just so impressed with how good that the lake looks. They don't have weeds that are caught up in their props, and we're definitely seeing more people coming to Black Lake than in the past. We would even at times actually leave to go to other areas to go and swim and play. So, you know, there's so many different things in our county that we could focus on, with garbage on freeways that are going into all of the retention areas that ultimately lead out into the Puget Sound. Our state has greatly lacked efforts in the cleanup and all the toxic waste that has built up. And I think that we could focus some energy into some of those areas versus going against the people who have created and actually found a solution to a problem. So I'm just here to support. I think it's important that everybody shares their voices. That's what this is about. I am in favor of the Black Lake efforts in making this an area that we can continue to enjoy for the decades to come.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Anybody else via conference call who would like to provide public testimony at this public hearing? And I see the Ms. Virginia Madsen, who I called earlier, perhaps is ready to provide testimony. Ms. Madsen? I don't have anybody else, Madam Chair.
Okay, can we remove the timer, please, so I can see
the
screen?
And that will conclude the public testimony, I believe.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to provide public testimony that didn't get a chance to do so? Okay, with that, Commissioner Edwards, do you have any comments you'd like to make at this point?
I don't think so. I think we're going to be discussing this at a later date coming up pretty soon. So I'll just wait until then. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner Menser?
I just want to thank everybody for being here. This was, I agree with Mr. Jorgensen, this was one of the most substantive and respectful and, you know, probably the longest public hearing of my 4 years on the board. So I learned a lot, heard a lot of really good information. So thanks to everybody for contributing.
Thank you. Yes, I want to echo those comments. I appreciate the 35 of you who provided public comment today, and for those observers as well for making the time to come here today. This is obviously an issue that you know, we are all very interested in. So I appreciate your willingness to come in and provide that public comment and your perspective on things. With that, if there's no more discussion at this time, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'm sure I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. So with that, County Manager, what are the next steps?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Next steps, you receive significant information via, obviously today, public testimony, verbal, as well as a written testimony you have received over the last couple of weeks. I think it will take some time for the board members to look at all that information before you can have a conversation. So I will schedule a follow-up maybe in the next 3 weeks, just to give you enough time to review all that information. But if you need additional information, additional time to review that information, please let me know. But for now, it's a 3-week period. If that is acceptable, we'll go ahead and schedule something.
Commissioner Menser?
Request for the county manager. The I didn't see our lake management staff here, and maybe they're zooming in, but I would request that they watch and listen, because I'm probably going to have questions that I'm going to want them to be available to answer in light of some of the things we heard today.
Sounds good, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions for the county manager? Okay, thank you all for being here today. With that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.